Thank you so much.
Yeah, everyone. I'm here to talk about crypto being awesome, which I don't think I really have to justify or explain why that is the case. If you're here, you've seen the amazing vibe, the illustrations, you probably agree with the term at least. But it has an issue, which is that we always talk about being early, and we are early in a way. Around like 2% of the world has interacted or uses crypto on the daily. And when it comes to just like bringing that out to the rest of the world, we are kind of like hoarding all the value. All the early people that got early on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, there's less of that for everyone else. And so at WorldCoin, we had a question, like what if Bitcoin has started by giving 1 Bitcoin to every human on Earth? We all agree that there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with crypto, with decentralization, unbanking, all those stuff. So what if we brought that to everyone? And so we said, let's do that. Let's make a token. Let's call it the WorldCoin, and let's give it to everyone. But there's an issue there, which is the part of like how exactly do we give it to everyone? How do we make sure that each person that we want to give it to only claims once? If we have a way that someone can just get 1,000 of them, then first of all, that's not fair anymore, and also it throws the whole scheme under the water. And we are probably familiar with civil attacks, the idea of someone pretending to be multiple people and then fucking up the whole system, whether it's with NFTs, DeFi, or whatever. So we needed a way to solve this. And we wanted something that was both private, but also inclusive, that everyone, there was not early, everyone could get in, and also scalable if we want this to go to the whole world. And so we started thinking, what can we use for this? Maybe we can get the emails, which some people do, but for our purpose, anyone can create unlimited emails pretty much, so it doesn't really work. Then we thought, let's try with KYC. Let's ask them for the passport of the ID. The issue with that is, I mean, there's parts of the world where they don't have an ID or a passport, or there's no database to check it against. And also, aside from that, it's like pretty privacy invasive to have all that data. So we thought, maybe we can use Web of Trust, this idea of people authenticating other people. And that works great, and we think we may be able to extend WorldCoin after the initial phase with this. But the issue with that is you need like an initial trust, a big set of users that you actually trust. And starting from scratch, that doesn't work as well. And you have the problem with being early again. And so we thought about biometrics. And that seems that like it works. Every human has them. They're pretty hard to fake. So we started looking into biometrics. And we looked into fingerprints, which don't have enough entropy, and they don't have enough detail to actually tell 8 billion humans apart, and also they are pretty easy to fake chains. You could make a cut on your finger, that's an entirely different fingerprint. Then we look at the face, like Face ID. That has its own set of issues, and it's still not enough data. It turns out even with a video of someone speaking to you, with voice and data recorded by like their iPhone or anything, or even a high-speed camera, there's not enough data there to tell 8 billion humans apart, both from like an AI or even humans doing manual review. So we looked at other things. Maybe you can use the whole palm. The issue there, again, is it's pretty easy to change your palm. You can just like make a cut, and that's a new one. We look at DNA. Aside from being way creepier than the iris thing, it's also pretty expensive to compute, and the technology is not yet there, so we ended up with the iris. And at that point, we were like, OK, so we're doing the iris. How can we capture that? Maybe we can use iPhones. It turns out, again, resolution is a big issue, and we cannot. Maybe we can use off-the-shelf hardware, like the thing that Clear uses. And aside from those things being prepared for a one-to-one match, you just like verifying who you are instead of checking against a database of 8 billion humans, it's still not enough. There's still not resolution. So we were like, OK, so we have to do custom hardware. There's no way around it. And we're like, everyone avoids doing the hardware for their own thing. And so that took a big while. But after almost 2 years of research and implementing, we did that guy, I mean, the orb, which is this little device here. And what it does is it has a bunch of anti-fraud devices. It will make sure that you're not showing a picture of an eye to it, or a dog, or a baby, or a dead human. It will check for all of those things. Then it will scan your iris, and it will convert it into an iris code, which is a way to extract the data and make it so that no one can get the information from there. So no one can just like get a picture of your eye from that in order to preserve privacy, and then register you. And so this works great because there's no images, no name, no contact info at all, and no KYC. But it's still not enough. Because after that, what we could do, for example, is say, like, this wallet is authorized. The issue then is someone may not be able to track that between the real world and the metaverse, but they can still track who you are by just like looking at different uses of the protocol. They can see like, oh, well, I don't know who he is, but he did this, and he did that, and he did that, similar to how you can go to Etherscan and check the activity for a wallet right now. And that's still not great for something that should transcend the idea of wallets and just take care of humanity. We want something that even anons or people with Twitter alts could use without doxing themselves. And so we went and looked at what could do with that, and we achieved zero-knowledge proof. We realized we can make it in a way where people can prove that they are human without revealing which human they are, which is kind of what we're looking for. And the system, it's quite complex in a way, but it works, which is the cool thing. So we went with that, we took that into the world, and we said, like, OK, we've made this, it kind of works, let's take it to the real world. And over the past 2 years, in various beta tests, we've been in 25 countries around the world. We've onboarded more than 600K participants with only 25 orbs, because we are making it in the lab. And we're open sourcing the thing, the crypto protocol is there, hardware will be soon, everything is great. We want to build in public, we want to decentralize, so that's all great. The thing is, we kept getting this question over and over, like, civil resistance is really, really cool, and it enables a bunch of really awesome things. So, like, this whole mess that you created with the hardware, with the orb, with the irises, with everything, how can I reuse that for my app? And so we looked at it, and we realized, actually, this thing is, like, really extensible. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. And so we figured out a way to extend that to everyone, not only WorldCoin, and actually use that system ourselves to future-proof it. And we call that WallID. And WallID is a protocol to anonymously verify, without really learning anything about them at all, that someone not only is a real person, but also is performing an action only once. So for example, initially we were saying, OK, so someone is a real person and has never claimed WorldCoin. And after that, if they're a real person, but they have already claimed WorldCoin, that's it. We don't care about that. So now what you can do is, OK, so this person is a real human that has never voted in this governance proposal, or minted this NFT, or redeemed this airdrop, or even Web2 actions like join this Discord, and still without learning anything at all with this person. They could be using a different wallet each time, even like multiple wallets, one at a time, and without doxing and without revealing anything about themselves, we can prove this. The system is quite complex. The good news is we've taken all of that, and we've made it super easy to use. We've made sure that this is all the code that you need to get something like this in your application. It literally takes 5 minutes. So what this will do is it will show one of those captchas, like I'm a unique human, where they will just add that. They scan with the WorldCoin app, and then afterwards, the app generates a proof on device, sends it to the website. The website can verify it on-chain or through an API that we provide, which also runs on-chain, but it's for people that don't want to worry about that. And you basically just like solve civil resistance in minutes, with the caveat of, obviously, every of the users that you have being onboarded with WorldCoin, which is what we're working on now. So how that would look is you have a website like this. This is a fake airdrop that we made out as an example, and you just add the captcha there. And so people would click there. It will show up in the app, and the app would say, whatever app wants to verify that you haven't done this before, and you just click verify, and that's it. It's really, really simple. The user gets WallID using the orb, developer integrates, user approves, everything works, and it's also super flexible. We've been talking for a while about all of the amazing things that civil resistance can enable, better governing models, also better funding models with quadratic funding, airdrops where you don't get dumped 5 minutes before the end just because someone got a shit ton of tokens and is selling them. A bunch of really, really cool things. And all of this is live today, by the way. You can use it. And the really, really cool thing about this is everyone in crypto is always talking about getting the next billion users into crypto. And the reality is, I don't even think we have a billion users in crypto. And it seems like everyone is just fighting against the same people to get users. Like, there's a limited number of people in the ecosystem, which grows, but most people are just like getting the same users side to side. And so the really cool thing about WorldCoin is that we've launched in, as I said, 25 countries, third world countries, first world countries, pretty much everywhere. We were in the US for the first time 2 weeks ago. And most of these people that are in the system, these 600K users, are not crypto power users. They are like regular people that went through a mall. In Lisbon, for example, we have a bunch of orbs there. Someone explained to them the idea. Obviously, we make sure that everyone actually understands what they're signing up for. And then they just like onboarded. We have a product similar to Coinbase Earn, the whole learn to earn system, where they can learn about crypto, get started in their journey, and they can get some tokens as a reward for that. But these are users that have never really used crypto that much before, and that now they can get started with that. So we are really excited to bring in all of these people into the ecosystem. We also want to give a huge shout out to a bunch of open source projects that have allowed for all of these things to work. Obviously, the orb is already enough engineering as it is, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't reinvent the wheel in a way. So we're using Semaphore, which is an open source project from the applied zero knowledge proof team that is used to validate and manage the zero knowledge proofs on-chain. We use Hubble, which is a rollup that was originally created by the Ethereum Foundation. Now it's maintained by the community. That basically is a rollup where you don't have smart contracts, only tokens. And so what that is obviously you cannot have anything complex there because there's no smart contracts. But what you have is really, really, really cheap token transfers, even cheaper than Polygon or either any of the other systems. And so since, again, most of our users are actually like real-world users, not crypto power people, they're going to be wanting to send tokens along, especially the WorldCoin token, once it's launched, hopefully later in the year. And so we're using Hubble, and we've been contributing back to Hubble in order to enable those people to send the token back and forth without pretty much any gas fees. And also, everyone here knows Wallet Connect. That's what powers the really magical SDK that I showed. That's a really cool thing. And we have a lot of really exciting things in the roadmap, from just like making it way, way easier for developers to integrate, to multi-chain support. Right now, we're only live on Polygon, mainnet, and testnet. Making it way less expensive to verify the zero knowledge proofs on chain. We're doing a lot of research there. More signals, more everything. But yeah, basically, the idea of this was crypto is amazing. So let's bring crypto to everyone. And crypto has this issue of like early adopters. So how can we make sure, how can we push forward a system where we know everyone will have an equal chance? And so this is the idea of what if Bitcoin has started by just like giving one to everyone and then went from there, instead of just like a bunch of people mining a huge percent of the supply and then now people buying fractions for seconds, or just like aping into alternative coins because they think they might get early again. And so we went and we did the device. We made the orb. This is the special purple version for obvious reasons, which first makes sure that you're real, make sure that you cannot show it an image or plug it into a screen or even use it with dead people. These are all things that we obviously have to like think about, because these things don't run in a trusted environment. We just send them over the whole world, and other people operate them in a model similar to Uber drivers in a way. So we have to make sure that no one can trick them, nor the operators, nor the users. And then what it will do is it will look at your face, look at your iris, extract the features from there, bundled up into an iris code, which is a way to just like not leak your iris around, because that's still not a good idea. An iris code is in a way similar to a hash. So even, I don't know. So a lot of people talk about what if WorldCoin gets, the government asks WorldCoin for all the data that we have. Or what if, I don't know, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of iris codes. And the key there is that those are just like long random numbers, similar to hashes. Like, obviously, biometrics are a really sensible piece of data, and our solution to that is just like put in a format that can not be reversed, so that no one can get that from us. Or that even if we have we're working on a better system of encrypting these things. I mean, hashing more than encrypting. And once we have that, we even want to put them on chain for more transparency. But for now, they're not. But yeah, basically the idea is like we have no data that anyone could want for us. So in that case, both the system is fully private, but also all of the data, every layer of the system is completely private. The only link that there will be is from your public key that you get for creating these proofs to your iris code, in order to enabling recovery where you can come into the orb again and then get a new key for the proofs and then invalidate the old one, which is also really handy for onboarding real people that can actually lose or even get hacked. And if you get hacked, you can just come back, revoke the other one, get a new one, no problem. I mean, it's better than private keys. And then after that, we have Wall ID, which is this protocol that we use for giving out Wallcoin to airdrop this token to the whole world. And that also enables anyone else to reach all of those users and add civil assistance to their app in minutes. And it's private. It's completely private, anonymous even. It's self-custodial. You get a key that is stored in your phone and that you can revoke, you can get again. And it's also open source. I shared the article before. It's wallcoin.org/open sourcing Wallcoin, I think. It's on the website. But yeah, it's fully open source. You can go into the repo, read all the smart contracts, read everything. And it works for every app. It works for on-chain apps where you can verify on the smart contract. It also works with opt-in apps or even things that have nothing to do with crypto at all. One of the things that we've been building as a proof of concept is a Discord bot where, I mean, Discord already has CAPTCHAs, but they're not super effective in keeping other people down. Like, you can maybe not automate it, but you can still get 1,000 people to create 1,000 accounts. So the advantage of a CAPTCHA that you can only use once, which doesn't exist in even in Web 2 today, is that you can make sure every single human in this Discord server is actually a real human. It's not like someone managing 10 accounts. And so in the whole NFT and crypto space, where we've had a lot of botting and whitelist mining, whatever that means, this aims to be a fix for that. And yeah, I have a few minutes left, so if anyone has any questions, I don't know if we are prepared to take questions. But yeah, you can raise your hand. Maybe someone will come to your rescue. Otherwise, you can just like come find me later. No? OK. So yeah, thank you, everyone. This is the plan. This is the orb, as I said. We want to get crypto into the hands of everyone. And that goes through actually coming where people are, real people, I mean, to the streets, to the malls, to everywhere. Getting them scanned, and then afterwards.
Hi.
Oh, yeah,
I just have a quick
Amazing.
question. So, great talk, thank you. And so my question is simple. So, my understanding is that we use our Harris to just get some kind of hash information that then is processed by Orbus, right? And this credential is somehow signed, is verified by the device, and you get a word ID.
Yeah, so basically how it works a little bit more in detail is you are going to look at the orb. The orb will take a bunch of pictures. Then it uses an in-device machine learning pipeline to transform those pictures into the iris code that I was talking about. And that iris code basically gets tied with a public key that is generated on your phone, and you just like show it as a QR code. And then it will just like tie those things together, send them over. And that's what that goes to a sequencer that puts the thing on chain. And that is what authorizes that public key that you are giving it to the orb as like this actually belongs to a verified human in a way. This is, by the way, different to like wallet private keys. It's a completely different key, and that's for a reason. Wallets are really complex as it is. This is a key that is only supposed to be able to generate the proofs, and that way we can enable recovery options where we can just invalidate the other one without throwing your wallet away. And it's also supposed to be usable from any wallet. Like I mentioned, this is the way that we can enable people with anons or alt accounts or even alternative identities to use the system, where I could vote on a governance proposal from my identity, Miguel, and then vote on another from an alt, and there's no way for anyone to just like take these two actions of voting and say like these are the same person because of Wall ID if I use different wallets. The only thing that I could not do is just like vote on both of them with the same identity. That would just like throw an error.
Yeah, indeed. So my real question is about the security of it. So how you can be sure that, I mean, this credential was processed in a valid way. So my question is if there is a single point, for example, if we tamper with the software or we have a custom hardware, because in fact you just have some data that enters a process flow which comes from your iris. You don't know why, it's just a black box, okay? Then it ends in somewhere, and you somehow authenticate this information through a public key. So my question is, can I tamper it? Or there is one entity, one single entity, some private key that you can use to actually produce multiple signatures, multiple word IDs. So
yeah, I mean, the idea here is that your thing only gets included if the iris is actually unique. So I think what you were asking as well is the combination of the iris code and the public key get also signed by the device, and that is stored in a secure enclave, and if you try to disassemble it, it will not let you, and I will not elaborate on that, at least for now. It will be open source eventually. But basically, the idea is like all of the attestations are signed with the orb. You can also figure out which orb, and eventually the community could just like decide this orb acted maliciously according to public information. We'll just like invalidate these signups up to this time, and then someone can just like, they can go to a different orb and sign up again. So in that way, we have enabled it in a way where people could watch, similar to optimistic rollups in a way, with maybe a little bit less data. But we can put the information from the signups anonymized up there, and someone could say, this orb is acting maliciously. They just like signed up 1,000 people in a minute, which is humanly impossible. And so we'll just like invalidate all those signups and kind of like mark the orb as malicious, and someone can just like go sign on, go register with a different orb. So we are, of course, thinking about everything that we can to make this as tamper-resistant as possible. Again, this will all be open source eventually, and we want to work with the community, both in a governance sense and also in a code sense, in order to make it more resilient. But I still think it's better than anything that we have right now, and so this is what we're launching with. Yeah, I think I'm out of time. So any other questions? My Twitter is there, and also you can just like come find me. I have purple hair. It's pretty easy to find. And yeah, thank you.